Thank you so much for joining us at CBN News Watch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, leaders in Israel speaking out and responding after recent attacks on Christians and the vandalism of Christian sites. We're going to hear what they had to say about these assaults. Humanitarian relief efforts now up and running in Hawaii as churches and aid groups, including CBN's Operation Blessing, are on the ground to help survivors after last week's devastating wildfires. President Biden touting the success of his Inflation Reduction Act, but Americans are not convinced. As numbers show, they don't think the president is doing a good job on the economy, and they're using credit cards at a record rate just to get by. And a call for 40 days of prayer and fasting. We'll tell you about this call from Regent University to appeal to the God of miracles. All those stories and more ahead today on CBN News Watch.
This is CBN News Watch.
And we begin this half hour in Israel, where officials are taking seriously a recent upsurge in spitting and hitting attacks on clergy and the vandalism of Christian sites. Christians in Jerusalem's Old City say they've repeatedly been assaulted. So how are Christian leaders now responding? CBN's Julie Stahl brings us the story. She's in Jerusalem.
The situation led Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Police Commissioner Yaakov Shabtai to meet leaders of the Orthodox and Catholic churches of the Holy Land.
In recent months, we've seen very serious phenomena towards the Christian denominations in the Holy Land. Our brothers and sisters, Christian citizens, feel attacked in their places of prayer, in their cemeteries and on the streets.
Christians in Jerusalem's Old City say they are often harassed, spit on, and even physically attacked by religious Jewish youth.
I view this phenomenon as extreme and unacceptable in any shape or form. This phenomenon needs to be uprooted.
Earlier incidents include the desecration of a Protestant cemetery on Mount Zion, an attack on international Christians during a day of prayer for Jerusalem, and harassment at a Messianic concert in Jerusalem.
We must respect the members of all religions. We've committed to this since the dawn of our existence. This is the most basic commandment of love your neighbor as yourself.
Church leaders expressed their desire to work together with Israeli authorities.
We need to work together in order to encourage coexistence and solidarity between us, and the love between us, because we are brothers in the same state. We live in the same places, and we need to live together in quiet and peace.
Recently, Israeli Channel 13 reporter Yossi Eli went undercover as a priest for a day. Dressed in a robe, he walked through the Old City with Franciscan Father Alberto. In the first 5 minutes, he was spat at 5 times by Orthodox Jewish Israelis. In Haifa, Israel's police commissioner said the police are working to eradicate incidents and trends that affect the sense of security.
We're here to reassure you of that and to offer any assistance that may be required. As part of the cooperation between all the parties, we're working to bridge the gaps in places of conflict, while simultaneously striving to provide the vital sense of security.
David Parsons from the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem says the attacks are coming from a fringe element.
Most Israelis welcome Christians here. They welcome Christian support. But there does seem to be a fringe, a small fringe on the religious right that for whatever motivations are trying to harass and give trouble for Christians here.
He also says it's a learning curve for Israel right now.
Jewish people wouldn't tolerate these sorts of attacks against them. In other countries, they're very vocal about it, and they shouldn't tolerate it here when their own co-religionists carry out similar attacks against Christians.
Parsons told CBN News the scriptures are clear about how Christians should treat the Jewish people.
Scriptures are clear that Genesis 12:3 says we need to bless the Jewish people. Isaiah says comfort them. Paul in Romans 11 says show them mercy. So we have biblical commands to stand with Israel, support them. We're not going to condition that support on whether or not these attacks are stopping, but it does make it harder for us to build support and friendship for Israel out there.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Turning now to the aftermath of those devastating fires in Hawaii, now the relief effort is in full swing as churches and humanitarian groups are including CBN's Operation Blessing are doing all they can to help the people of Maui find hope and new life after this tragedy. Wendy Griffith brings us that story.
Some are calling this a miracle A Catholic church in Lahaina appears to have survived, even though burned houses are all around it. A sign of hope for residents, which is exactly what the staff of Harvest Kumalani Church in Maui is trying to give people.
And that hope is Jesus. And our desire is to spread the love of Jesus. I saw it on Sunday. We had an incredible service. We had over 600 people show up. And that's without telling anybody that there's no cell service around here right now. Our God is the God of hope. And he's a healer. And this place needs that more than anything.
And those who've lost everything need basic necessities. That's why Harvest Kumalani is teaming up with relief organizations to bring aid to the victims. CBN's Operation Blessing is working with Youth with a Mission to send needed relief items like generators, gas grills, tents, tarps, and clothes to those in need.
I've been coming here since the 70s, and it hasn't changed dramatically.
Just last month, Harvest Kumalani senior pastor Greg Laurie and I walked down the streets of Lahaina that were busy with tourists and shoppers and stood under the now famous banyan tree, a gift to the island in 1873 by missionaries from India.
This tree, you said you preached under this tree.
Yeah. So I came here with a Christian band in the early 70s and preached here. I came with another band in the 80s.
Even though the flames consumed many of the historic landmarks, the tree, which covers almost 2 acres, appears to have survived. Pastor Laurie says it's another sign of hope.
And I think when we're rooted in Christ, we can survive anything. And that's really a picture of the people, especially the Christians on Maui. You know, their faith is strong, but many of them have lost literally everything. They've lost their homes. They have lost their livelihood. And even more tragically, so many have lost their lives.
Pastor Laurie says he believes Harvest Kumalani, the Maui branch of his LA-based church, is there for such a time as this.
And we've had our own people take other folks into their homes, and everybody has a roof over their head and a meal in their stomach. And so this is what the church does best. You know, we can shine in times of difficulty.
He says the question now shouldn't be why, but what?
Like, what do we do? Well, what we do is we step in and we help people in the name of Jesus Christ. We give them food, we give them water, but more than that, we give them hope. And that is what we are hoping and planning on doing really in the years ahead. The relief efforts will come in, buildings will be rebuilt, but lives are lost, and our work as a church on the island will carry on as we try to bring both help and hope to people on the island of Maui.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
You can find out more about what Operation Blessing is doing in Hawaii and how you can help by visiting ob.org. Want to turn now to a look at some stories beyond the headlines. In North Carolina, transgender women and girls who were born as males before transitioning will not be able to take part in college, high school, or middle school sports. This comes after the state's Republican-led General Assembly overrode a veto by the Democratic governor. North Carolina becomes the 22nd state to enact legislation restricting or banning gender transition treatment for transgender minors, but most face legal challenges. The World Cup Swimming Championships in Berlin this year will have an open category for transgender athletes after the sport's governing body decided last year it would not allow transgenders to compete in women's races. And retail giant Target reporting that sales dropped by 5% in the second quarter following a backlash over its LGBTQ Pride Month collection. Coming up, President Biden celebrating the one-year anniversary of his Inflation Reduction Act, but the public isn't so happy as their standard of living has gone down and they are racking up credit card debt simply to get by. We're going to have that story for you when we come back.
The Bible tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. In CBN's free guide, 10 Ways You Can Pray for Israel, you'll learn spiritual lessons from Israel's patriarchs, prophets, and beloved New Testament leaders, while also discovering how you can pray for Israel today. Get your free copy Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/pray-for-Israel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about, anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
President Biden is proclaiming his administration is turning things around for Americans on the economy. His remarks coming Wednesday on the anniversary of his bill on climate change, health care, inflation, and taxes, which he says is strengthening the economy.
The Inflation Reduction Act is giving people more breathing room, as my dad would say, and it's supercharging the economic transition in key ways. First,
the president and his team plan to run on the success of Bidenomics in the upcoming presidential campaign, but the public is not convinced. A new poll from the Associated Press out today shows only 36% of U.S. adults approve of Biden's handling of the economy. And inflation has had a terrible impact on consumer wallets. That comes as Moody Analytics reports the typical American household spent $709 more in July to buy the same goods and services as they did 2 years ago. And with the cost of living so high, many Americans are turning to credit cards to make ends meet. Hitting a new high in credit card debt, the overall balance shot above $1 trillion for the first time. CBN's Washington reporter Hillary Powell takes a closer look at that trend.
Although credit card balances are at an historic high, the New York Federal Reserve reports that generally people are still able to make their payments on time for now. There are 70 million more credit cards open than there were before the pandemic, and that's really changing how families are choosing how to spend.
The larger concern is credit cards are increasingly being used to pay down household bills. Experts say that could be the reason why credit card debt for families nationwide is unprecedented at a record-setting $1 trillion. CPA Howard Dvorkin says the use of plastic is back up after consumers took a pandemic pause on spending.
People are subsidizing their normal costs, their normal living expenses, using the credit cards. So maybe things were great 3 years ago, but now with the inflated expenses for groceries and fuel and all the other expenses and travel, I have to say, because the airports are very busy, they're using the credit cards to pay for it.
Other balances such as retail stores, consumer loans, and car loans add to the household balance sheet, as well as financial frustration. A recent Debt.com survey reports Americans who admit feeling stressed after using credit cards is up 15% since last year. The federal government is in the same boat with the U.S. Congressional Budget Office, projecting the national debt to be nearly twice as large as the entire U.S. economy in 30 years. Congress could slow that trend by cutting spending. One suggestion from the CBO, however, mentions limiting Social Security as an option, which won't be popular with politicians in an election year. The office also warns higher debt can erode confidence in the U.S. dollar. Dvorkin says before your next bill arrives, families should create a budget.
Maybe is not the greatest financial planning thing that you've done, but it'll put a good ability for you to chart a path out of debt, out of financial stress, and figure out, okay, what's my next move?
Now, when you add in the elevated interest rates, it becomes even more of a challenge to pay off credit card debt. Bankrate.com reports that the average interest charge for credit cards right now is around 20%. So again, an even heavier burden for families with a really tight budget. For CBN News Washington, I'm Hillary Powell.
Still ahead, why some Republicans want to get rid of a law that was created to go after terrorists, but critics argue the FBI has been using it to spy on Americans and violating their rights. We're going to take a look at the debate and what should be done now, right after this.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
The FBI has been spying on Americans without their warrant or probable cause, and to do it, they're abusing a law created to target terrorists. That law is known as FISA, which stands for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Some Republicans want to get rid of it, while others just want it to be revised. Gary Lane explains how the FBI has been using FISA to violate our privacy rights.
Ohio Representative Jim Jordan insists Congress must make reforming the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, a top priority.
This is the most important thing we're probably going to do this Congress.
By year-end, Congress must decide if it will reauthorize Section 702 of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Security Act. The 2008 law allows government agencies to collect specific types of information to protect the nation from terrorism. Section 702 expires on December 31st.
Critics say it should be allowed to die because agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation have abused the law to spy on average Americans without probable cause. Here's how it works. Telecom companies collect data from phone and internet use. The raw, unredacted information goes into a National Security Agency database. Approximately 10,000 people at the U.S. Justice Department are able to query the database. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence reports that 30% of the 3.4 million queries made in 2021 were in error. A FISA filing unsealed last spring revealed the FBI improperly used warrantless search powers against U.S. citizens more than 278,000 times in the year ending November 2021. Florida Representative Matt Gaetz confronted FBI Director Christopher Wray about those transgressions during a recent congressional hearing.
The court said it was over 200,000 that have occurred on your watch. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment?
Again, I don't have the number as I sit here right now. What I can
Seems like a number you should know. How many times the FBI's breaking the law under your watch?
The FBI's illegal searches included queries of January 6th and George Floyd protesters. Agents also performed personal queries without proper authorization. Civil libertarians and members of Congress believe the warrantless searches are unacceptable, perhaps even criminal violations of American privacy rights.
What is the Justice Department doing to punish folks who have already abused FISA?
It's on a spectrum. For intentional misuse, agents and analysts can be fired. In fact, one person was fired for wrongfully violating the rules intentionally with respect to FISA. But the vast majority of the mistakes we've seen are not intentional.
Intentional or not, Cato Institute senior fellow Patrick Eddington believes the government has no business using the FISA law to examine Americans' personal information without a warrant.
And so you had FBI agents going in there and conducting literally millions of searches without any kind of probable cause, and thus, no warrant signed by a federal judge to do it.
In the case of former Trump campaign official Carter Page, the FISA court issued a warrant after the FBI submitted falsified information. Eddington contends the DOJ has abused the law for at least 15 years.
We have seen these violations take place virtually since the day this program was started. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which is supposed to basically be the body here that prevents this kind of stuff from happening, has more often than not simply served as a rubber stamp. And when they have actually called out FBI and NSA, for violating their court orders, nobody has been sanctioned and nobody has lost their job.
DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz suggests it's unfair to hold the FISA court and federal prosecutors accountable for evidence withheld by the FBI.
I'll just say on the Carter Page FISAs, one of the problems that we found, and one of the serious problems we found, was the FBI was sitting on information and wasn't telling the prosecutors that information.
If I was in a civil litigation environment in North Florida and I was withholding evidence that the other side had a right to, I would expect a judge to sanction me.
So what is the solution? Some members of Congress want to do away with FISA altogether, while others feel revising the law would be enough to protect the constitutional right to privacy. Representative Jordan believes the solution is straightforward.
And the solution is simple, right? Require probable cause if you're going to query this database on American citizens. How about if we just get the FBI out of the business altogether?
I think the question is,
what if the FBI can't query this database? You can't query it with, don't even mess with the problem. Just FBI can't query this database on American citizens.
Look, the FBI has a long way to go to regain public trust. And the question is, I think if the FBI is not doing these searches to figure out who in the United States is talking to terrorists abroad, who is going to do it. And so the concerns are real. And
who's going to do it? We got other agencies that do it already.
The Office of the Director of National Intelligence reports warrantless searches of electronic data dropped to about 200,000 last year. Still, Eddington believes the government must act soon to stop the further erosion of American civil liberties.
So there's literally an entire generation of Americans who have grown up essentially under this surveillance state, under this, virtually dystopian, Orwellian, kind of country in that regard. And that has a fundamental warping effect, I believe, on our society and certainly on the entire concept of the rule of law and individual rights.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Coming up, Regent University is inviting believers around the world to pray and fast for 40 days. We're going to bring you the details and an encouraging word for your day ahead when we come back. Stay with us.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet. Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to CBNNewsApp.com to get the app today.
The Dean of the Robertson School of Government at Regent University is inviting believers around the world to join in on 40 days of prayer and fasting. Former Congressman Michelle Bachmann is hosting the 3rd annual event, which began yesterday, August 16th, and it goes until September 24th. Those who want to join can connect online from 10 to 10:30 every day. Bachmann started the spiritual initiative to intercede for a world in need of God's power and mercy. She writes, during this year's 40 days of prayer and fasting, we'll cry out to the Lord, the God of miracles, to have his way in all the earth. And that is something we can all pray for. And speaking of prayer, time now for your Thursday Thankful. Today, I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for being good. In fact, God, you are better than good. And for that, I am so grateful. Grateful for that goodness, grateful for that mercy, because it is new every morning and it is sufficient for the day. Thank you, God, for being not just good, but being better than good. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can do that by emailing us. The address, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Make this a thankful Thursday filled with gratitude and join us right back here, same time tomorrow. Bye. God bless.